It's one of the hardest truths you'll ever face. Life doesn't reward the timid. The world is built for those who dare to step forward, take risks, and make bold moves. The question is, are you ready to step into the spotlight? Or are you okay with blending into the background, forgotten by the world? Imagine this. You're standing on the edge of a cliff, the wind howling around you. Below, a vast ocean waits, shimmering under the sun. It looks so inviting. Yet, the thought of jumping makes your heart race. It's terrifying, isn't it? But the people who change the world, they're the ones who leap. And here's the truth. Every moment you hesitate, you risk fading into obscurity. What if I told you that being forgotten isn't just a possibility, but a guarantee unless you make a bold move? Are you ready to hear how boldness can change everything? Picture this. A young man, just like you, stood at the crossroads of his life. He had dreams, ambitions, and a desire to make an impact. Yet, he lived in the shadow of his own doubts. Day after day, he woke up to the same routine, the same worries, the same fears. He knew he had something more to offer, but every time he thought about stepping out and making a move, his mind filled with excuses. "I'm not ready yet," he would say. "I need more time. I'm not good enough." Can you relate to that feeling? The fear of starting, of failing, the comfort of staying where you are, because at least it's safe? But here's what he didn't know. His hesitation, his refusal to take bold action, was sealing his fate. He wasn't just delaying his success. He was choosing to be forgotten. Every time he said no to stepping up, he said yes to fading into the background. It wasn't until one defining moment, the moment when he was pushed to his absolute limit, that he realized what he had been missing. The world doesn't wait for anyone. You can't sit around and wait for the perfect time. The perfect time never comes. But that's not the most unsettling part. What's even scarier is this. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be bold. In the next few moments, you'll learn the secret that separates the successful from the forgotten. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about being bold. You see, boldness is a muscle. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build. And every small, bold decision you make strengthens that muscle. The more you push yourself, the easier it becomes to make those big leaps, to take those risks. The more you speak up, the more you create opportunities, the more you show up, even when you're afraid. Let me tell you about a moment in history when boldness changed everything. In the 1960s, a man named Martin Luther King Jr. stood before 1,000 people and said, "I have a dream." He was not the only person fighting for equality, but he was the one who took the boldest steps to speak his truth. Was he afraid? Absolutely. Did he hesitate? Yes, but he didn't let fear stop him. He didn't let doubt hold him back. That was the moment the world changed. And it wasn't just because of his dream, but because he had the courage to share it. He was bold, and the world listened. Now, imagine if King had stayed silent, if he had let fear rule his actions, if he had waited until the right time. Would the world have ever heard his message? Would the civil rights movement have grown as powerful as it did? Will we have the progress we have today? Boldness is the difference between living a life of mediocrity and living a life that echoes through history. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped waiting for the perfect moment to act? What could you accomplish if you made one bold decision today? Here's where the rubber meets the road. Are you ready to step up? Or will you continue to stand on the edge, too afraid to leap? Boldness isn't just a choice, it's a lifestyle. And if you're tired of being forgotten, tired of living small, then it's time to make a change. But I won't lie to you, it won't be easy. It will be messy. It will require you to face your deepest fears and step into the unknown. But that's the price of greatness. If you've been holding back, it's time to stop. Be bold or be forgotten. But here's the twist. The next step is the hardest, the most important, and it could change your life forever. In the next part of this journey, we're going to dive into what it means to step into your boldness, how to overcome the challenges you'll face, and how to turn your fear into fuel for success. Will you make that leap, or will you stay stuck? Just another forgotten face in crowd? Stay tuned. The journey is just beginning, and you don't want to miss the next chapter. What happens after you make that leap? What's the real cost of choosing boldness over comfort? It's not all sunshine and victories. In fact, it can feel like you're walking through fire. It's easy to think that the bold decision will lead to immediate success, but more often than not, it leads you straight into the unknown, into hardship and even failure. And yet, it's still worth it. Because the truth is, failure is part of the journey. It's part of what makes you stronger. So, let's break down what happens after you've made that leap and why it's so essential to keep pushing through. You've taken that bold step. You've gone for it. But what do you do when the results aren't what you expected? When your bold move doesn't lead to instant success, but instead brings rejection, doubt, or even ridicule? Think of an athlete on the world stage, stepping up to the starting line. They've trained for years, poured their heart and soul into their craft. Yet when they take that first step, they stumble. The crowd is silent, and the disappointment is palpable. What happens then? Do they quit? Do they let the moment define them? It's easy to assume that those who succeed had an easy path. But nothing could be further from the truth. The greatest achievers in history face rejection and failure at every turn. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, failed thousands of times before he succeeded. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television. J.K. Rowling was rejected by over a dozen publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Boldness means continuing even when failure knocks you down. But here's the real question. Are you willing to risk failure to claim success? Are you willing to be misunderstood, to face obstacles that seem insurmountable, just to prove that you can rise above it all? Because every failure you face isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign that you're on the path of greatness. Every setback is a lesson. The world doesn't remember the people who never tried. The world remembers the people who kept going, no matter how many times they were knocked down. When you step into boldness, you also step into vulnerability. You're no longer hiding behind comfort. You're facing the world head-on, exposing your dreams, your ambitions, and your heart. This is where the magic happens. When you let the world see who you really are, the real you, not the saved version of you. And yes, it can hurt. But that hurt isn't the end. It's just a moment. It's the moment you realize that your story is bigger than your failures. Boldness doesn't come without scars. But those scars, they're what shape you. They teach you resilience. They show you your inner strength. They prepare you for the next chapter, the next challenge. Every time you push through fear, you build your confidence. Every time you face a setback and rise from it, you're getting closer to your true potential. But here's the thing, most people give up too soon. They stop just before the breakthrough. They think they've failed, but they're actually on the cusp of success. Imagine an artist staring at a blank canvas, not knowing where to start. The first stroke doesn't look like much, but it's the beginning. The next few strokes might feel awkward, but with each layer, something beautiful begins to emerge. The same is true for your life. You start bold, you face setbacks, and then through grit and determination, you start to see the masterpiece that you're creating. But here's the catch. If you never start, you'll never see what could be. So, what's next after you've stepped into boldness? After you face a fire of failure and survived? The key lies in one simple truth. Persistence is what makes the bold truly unstoppable. Because in the end, it's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get back up. The greatest achievers aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who fail and keep going. They keep pushing forward, learning, growing, and ultimately creating the life they've always dreamed of. But there's a bigger question that awaits us. If boldness leads to failure, and failure leads to growth, then how do we truly know when we've reached success? When do we stop fighting for something that feels out of reach? The answer is coming in the next part of our journey. We will explore the one thing that separates those who win from those who give up. The scars are there, but you kept going. Now, I want to ask you something. What separates those who succeed from those who fade into the background? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's persistence. Persistence is a power to keep moving forward when everything inside you tells you to stop. It's the ability to rise again and again, even when every part of you aches to quit. The truth is, the most successful people in the world don't have a magic formula. They have one thing in common. They never give up. So, what does persistence really look like? And how do you keep going when the odds feel insurmountable? Let me show you. Imagine a marathon runner. The race has been grueling. Their legs ache. Their breath comes in ragged gasps. They can feel every step in their bones, but the finish line is still miles away. They've been running for hours, but every fiber of their being is screaming, "Stop. It's too much." What do they do next? They keep running. Here's the thing. When you're in the midst of a challenge, it's hard to see the finish line. The road ahead can seem endless. You may feel like you're running in circles, getting nowhere. And yet, it's not the ones who quit who reach the end. It's the ones who refuse to stop, even when every part of them wants to. Persistence isn't about avoiding the struggle. It's about embracing it. Knowing that every painful step is a step closer to your goal. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your persistence. But here's the catch. Not everyone has the strength to keep going. The majority of people give up just when things are about to change. How do you know if you're on the verge of success or if you're just wasting time? That's the question we're about to answer. Let me take you back to a story you might know. There was a man named Steve Jobs. He was fired from the very company he founded, the company he had poured his heart and soul into. Imagine that feeling, to be cast aside by the very people who had once believed in you. The sting of failure must have been unbearable, but Steve didn't quit. In fact, he used that moment of rejection to fuel his next great venture. He didn't see it as an end. He saw it as the beginning. He kept pushing, kept creating, and in the end, he changed the world with Apple, Pixar, and the technology that reshaped the way we live. And then there's Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of KFC. Did you know that he was rejected over 1,000 times before he found someone willing to franchise his fried chicken recipe? 1,000 rejections. Most people would have given up after the first, 10th, or 100th no. But Sanders kept going, and today, his name is synonymous with fast food worldwide. What makes people like Jobs and Sanders different? They didn't let failure define them. They didn't stop when the road got tough. They knew that persistence, keeping your eyes on the goal and never, ever quitting, was the key to turning their dreams into reality. Now, ask yourself, what if they had quit? What if they had listened to their critics? To the people who said, "You'll never make it"? The world would have never known the magic of Apple or the joy of KFC. The question isn't whether you'll face failure. It's when. And when it happens, will you quit or will you rise again? Because you will fail. And when you do, you'll have two choices: give up or keep going. The difference between those who make it and those who don't isn't how many times they fall, but how many times they rise. Persistence is about resilience. It's about being knocked down and choosing to stand up again. It's about moving forward one step at a time, even when you can't see the path ahead. It's about trusting that if you keep going, the breakthrough will come. But here's where things get interesting. What happens when persistence leads to something bigger than you ever imagined? What if the real success isn't the goal you set out to achieve, but the person you become in the process? That's the cliffhanger I want to leave you with. What happens when your persistence becomes a thing that transforms you into someone greater? Someone who can not only achieve their goals, but inspire others to do the same. Stay tuned, because the next chapter is where we dive deep into how your journey of persistence can not only change your life, but change the world around you. What happens when all that hard work, that grit, and determination start to pay off? Because here's the truth. It's not just about reaching the finish line. The journey, the challenges, the failures, the persistence, that's where the real transformation happens. That's where you discover the person you were always meant to be. Success is a moment. It's a process. And that process changes you in ways you never imagined. When you're bold, when you persist at the hardest times, you don't just achieve your goals. You transform into someone capable of achieving even bigger dreams. Let me show you how this journey doesn't just shape your outcome. It shapes you. Imagine this. You spent years building, struggling, pushing yourself beyond limits. Finally, the breakthrough comes. Maybe it's a promotion at work. Maybe it's a new business venture. Maybe it's a relationship you've been working on for years. The moment you've been waiting for has arrived. But here's the twist. You feel different. It's not just a success that's satisfying. It's the person you become. Before, you were afraid to take risks. You doubted your own ability. But now you stand tall. You look back at how far you've come, and you realize you're not the same person who started this journey. That's the real reward of persistence. You transform. You grow. The boldness and resilience that you cultivated through every setback, every failure, every rise. They've created a new version of you. The person you are now can handle challenges with a calm confidence that the old you could never have imagined. It's not just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. Let's take a closer look at the journey of someone who exemplified this transformation. Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and SpaceX, wasn't born a billionaire. In fact, at one point, he was just like the rest of us, struggling to make his ideas work. He faced rejection, ridicule, and bankruptcy. In the early days of Tesla, he almost lost everything. But instead of giving up, Musk kept going. He was bold, persistent, and willing to risk everything. And today, he's revolutionized the automotive industry and space travel. But Musk doesn't just measure his success by his financial worth or his companies. The transformation happened in him first. He developed a mindset, a resilience, and a vision for what he could achieve. The success followed that interchange. You see, boldness and persistence are not just about external achievements. They change you from the inside out. You develop a different perspective on life. You understand that challenges are not obstacles, they're opportunities. And once you begin to see the world that way, there's no limit to what you can accomplish. So what about you? How will you look back on this moment in 5 years? What will the journey you're on now shape you into? What will your transformation look like? Here's the most important lesson I want to leave you with. Success is not the final destination. It's a journey of becoming. The person you are today isn't the person you'll be tomorrow. Each time you take bold action, each time you persist through failure, each time you rise up when you're knocked down, you become stronger, you become wiser, you become unstoppable. So, as you stand here today on the edge of greatness, ask yourself, who do I want to become? Do you want to be the person who never steps out of the shadows, the person who is forgotten by the world? Or do you want to be the one who rises above, who transforms, who leaves a mark on the world that can't be erased? The choice is yours. Be bold, be persistent, and most importantly, be transformed. This journey isn't just about achieving success. It's about becoming the person who can achieve anything.